My name is Aaron Parker, and I heard a room decide I was support staff. The applause hit before the sentence. Congratulations to our new Regional Operations Director, Chase Whitman. 4 weeks on payroll. 5 years of metrics folded into one. Polite thank you. If you have stood in a glass box while someone repackaged your work as legacy, you know how the air thins. You do not choke. You calculate. Martin stood at the front like a host who believed charm could replace judgment. He scanned the rows, soaking in the claps that were more habit than respect. When the noise faded, he looked at me with that soft corporate smile. None of this runs without you, Aaron. I will need you close during Chase's transition. And think about Sophie. Stability matters. He used my sister's name like a key. 14 years old, my responsibility. He wanted me to hear stay. I heard stay small. Chase caught my eye and winked. Not a thank you. Not a nod to the years I kept the line from dying at midnight. A wink like we were in on the same joke. The joke was that I had taught myself how to move steel across 3 states without a single missed penalty week. The joke was that I did not need a title to make a truck appear where a spreadsheet said it could not. I clapped one more time for them and saved the last clap for me. Then I sat, opened a blank document, and typed a title I did not intend to share. Ops Field Guide. Personal. Under it, I wrote the first rule. People move freight. Software only records the attempt. I listed the yard foreman who answer on the first ring. The dispatcher who trades favors only when you use her real name. The accounts clerk who sees risk 2 days before the portal flashes red. I wrote vendor ladders by lead time, not by brochure. I wrote penalty clauses with the one sentence that gets a waiver when the clock lies. I sent Chase a cheerful note that said welcome and CC'd Martin, so it glowed in the right inbox. I booked a one-on-one to accelerate his learning. They would read loyalty. I meant leverage. I walked the floor and let the noise of forklifts clear the heat from my face. Every rack, every dock number, every driver who hates email and loves a clean handoff, all of it was inventory. All of it was mine because I earned it in hours no one else wanted. Back at my chair, I wrote one line in my phone. We play silent, then we play sharp. I pictured the next 3 moves. A test that looks like help, a coffee that looks like catching up, a letter that looks like relief when it finally leaves my outbox. None of it required a scene. All of it required patience with a clock I would set. Martin believed the word stability could hold me. He did not see that stability is what I give to people who do their jobs. It is not what I give to a system that confuses a last name with a resume. I closed the document and watched the glass walls throw light back at me. In the reflection, I did not look cornered. I looked steady. Tomorrow, I will place the first quiet piece where they cannot see it yet. You will see the angle when the pressure shifts and the doors they think are mine swing on their hinges for me alone. Before I go on, I want to see how far this story travels. Tell me where you are watching from in the comments. And if this resonates, please subscribe. Your support is what helps me keep making better videos. Thank you for being here and for listening. I opened with manners that read like loyalty. Congrats, Chase. Happy to support your ramp. I CC'd Martin so the glow landed in the right inbox. Then I opened a file that did not belong to them. OPS Field Guide, Personal, Rule 1. People move freight. Software records the attempt. I built vendor ladders by lead time, not logo. I wrote the one sentence that bends a penalty when the clock lies. I mapped escalation trees that skip dashboards and land on the only thing that has ever saved a Friday night line. A human who picks up. By afternoon, the skeleton had muscle, names and direct numbers, the favors I earned in loading bays, not conference rooms. I added a page called Where the Truth Lives. End caps, not slide decks. Yard radios, not Monday syncs. The accounts clerk who sees a storm 2 days before the portal turns yellow. Next to each, I wrote what they need to hear to say yes when it is ugly. Then my calendar flashed something I was not meant to see. Succession runway. Not a pep talk, a recurring meeting that started weeks before the applause. So the surprise was choreography. That did not make me angry. It made me accurate. I did not need to win an argument. I needed to win timing. I walked to Chase's desk and kept my voice even. Let me shadow your first week. I will handle escalation while you learn the pattern. You will see faster, and we will keep service clean. He lit up like I had chosen forgiveness. I had chosen control. When you stand behind the person everyone thinks is in charge, you decide which fires get oxygen and which ones die without smoke. I set a weekly one-on-one titled Accelerate Success. My notes were high level and tidy, enough to prove I did my job, not enough to gift wrap my edge. Back at my chair, I exported the field guide to a private drive and printed one clean copy from my bag. Paper does not crash. I wrote another rule at the top: ladders, not logos. Truth, not theater. On my way out, I paused in Martin's doorway. Chase will be ready for the vendor sink, I said. He smiled like he owned the weather. I nodded because sometimes yes is the fastest road to the lever you actually want. In the elevator, I typed one line into my phone. We play quiet to place the piece. We play sharp to end the game. At home, I read the field guide once, like a pre-flight checklist. People first. Lead time over loyalty. Proof over presentation. The plan was not dramatic. It was timed. Within 48 hours, a small gap would force every hand to show. When the emails start to fly, I will let another name press send while my work turns the lock from the inside. Tomorrow I touch the pressure point. When it moves, you will feel it from wherever you are. And you will see why the quiet yes I gave today is the sharpest word in this building. I wrote my resignation in one paragraph and saved it to my desktop without hitting send. Leverage is not volume. It is timing. I wanted the subject line to sit there like a sealed envelope while I measured what I could take with me that no one could confiscate. Trust. By late morning, I was doing what I called auditing trust. Not gossip, not fishing, calibration. I texted Maya from Redline Metals and asked if she had 20 minutes near the plant. We met at a small cafe that smells like grinder dust and dark roast. Hypothetically, I said, if the name on your purchase orders changed overnight, what would keep you steady? She looked at me like she'd been waiting to be asked. You, she said, because you answer when the line is loud. I wrote that in my notebook and underlined it twice, not for ego, for math. In the car, I called Cole at Ridgecore Logistics. He was between yards and traffic gave me 13 minutes. If granite shuffled rolls and your route escalations went somewhere new, what would you need? I asked. He snorted. I'd need Aaron Parker, he said. Everybody else reads from a binder. You listen. I did not smile. I just wrote, contact follows outcome. I caught Priya at Tri-Mount on her way to a production walk. What breaks your confidence? I asked. Silence, she said. And people who don't know the difference between a portal alert and a real emergency. I told her I understood, and I did, because I had stood in too many bays watching clocks lie. None of this happened on company time, technically. I stacked calls over lunch and between errands, the way every working person keeps their life moving without asking permission. I blocked my calendar with words that told the truth without telling everything. Vendor review, route audit. It wasn't a cover. It was a boundary. It showed up on my phone, a link from Maya, no message attached, Titan Lift Distribution, Regional Operations Director, Boulder Hub, open now. I clicked through and read the description like someone had followed me around with a clipboard for a year. Multi-state coordination, penalty recovery, relationship retention. It did not feel like an escape hatch. It felt like a door that had been waiting while I pretended the hallway was enough. I reached out to a name I knew from conferences, Nina Alvarez, and asked for coffee. I didn't pitch myself. I sent 3 bullet points and 2 results with numbers that mattered, on-time recovery across a bad quarter and averted penalties that paid for a small fleet's worth of fuel. She replied in 10 minutes. Tomorrow afternoon works. Bring whatever you'd show aboard if they gave you 6 minutes. Back at my kitchen table, I sorted the contacts I had touched and the ones I still needed. 8 by nightfall. That was the goal, not to steal, to remind. People choose steadiness. It is not a crime to be the steady thing they choose. I took a breath and added a quiet risk to the plan. If anyone asked, I would say plainly that I was exploring options and that no non-compete bound me. I had already checked the file. Paper decides a lot of arguments before voices ever rise. As the sun slid down, I called 2 more supervisors who trusted me because I never made them guess. Each conversation ended the same way. If you move, we'll at least take the call. That is all leverage is. A door that opens when you knock. By the time the streetlights flicked on, I had my 8. The letter on my desktop could wait 1 more day. Tomorrow I will sit across from Nina with a folder that explains how to keep steel moving when software lies. If the offer lands, I will choose the hour my signature becomes the exit wound they never saw coming. The biggest client lit up my screen with 1 line that could break a quarter. Bearing short. Penalty window running. I felt the floor tilt and then go steady. This was the terrain I knew better than anyone in that building. I waved Chase into my doorway. "Pull the supplier portal," I said. He clicked, like a man trying to find the light switch in a strange house. I stopped watching his mouse and started making calls. "Trimount, what's your real stock on the 6205 series? Skyway, can you free 2 pallets if I trade you a Monday favor? Quick turn, I need an Aurora cross-dock slot before the cutoff." The words came out calm because panic wastes minutes. I mapped it in my head the way other people map neighborhoods. Dock, forklift, trailer, mile marker. The portal said no. People said yes. While Chase hovered, I wrote 3 lines on a sticky note and slid it to him. "Open these vendors. Say this, not that. Confirm the dock time." He repeated my words into the phone like a student reading a script, and the doors started opening in front of us. Trucks don't care about titles. They care about timing. At the yard, a foreman I knew by his first coffee waved a loader into place. I took a photo of the outbound trailer number and emailed it to myself from a personal account with a subject I would recognize in any courtroom or boardroom. Proof beats memory when the story gets rewritten. At the exact moment the plan locked in, I made the move some people will call petty, and I call precise. I drafted the confirmation email to Front Range and had Chase hit send from his account. His name would sit on the save. My method would sit in my bag. I was not feeding his resume. I was tightening a cord around a truth no one could keep pretending not to see. An hour later, a company-wide shout-out arrived with confetti I didn't ask for. "Applause for Chase on rapid mitigation," Martin wrote. "Proud father, proud leader." I read it without heat. Credit is theater. Continuity is leverage. I opened my private file and added the steps Chase forgot to write down. I added the 3 direct numbers that made software stop lying. I titled the page Recovery Tree A3 and printed a clean copy for the plain folder I kept under my desk at home. Paper does not crash. Then I walked the loading bay, let the noise soak through me, and checked the trailer door with my own hand. Steel was moving. That is the only sentence that ever mattered to me. On my way back upstairs, I passed a knot of managers already repeating the version where the kid rose to the occasion. I didn't correct them. People believe the story that flatters them. I was busy writing the one that would outlast their inboxes. Before I go, I'd like to know where this story reaches. Drop your city in the comments. If this earned your time, subscribe. That small push helps me keep making better work. Thank you for listening. Back at my desk, I slid the folder into my bag and checked the clock in my head, not on the wall. Next comes a table, a coffee, and a woman who measures outcomes, not last names. If her offer lands when I expect, a different clock will start. In a few days, a door will close softly behind me while another opens on cue. When the emails fly and the building looks for a hero, they will find a name. When they look for the map, it will already be on my desk somewhere else. The cafe on Wincoop smelled like dark roast and second chances. Nina Alvarez was already at the back table with a tablet and a pen that looked like it made decisions for a living. "Erin, good to finally meet off a spreadsheet," she said. No small talk. She tapped the folder I slid across the table. 3 pages, 1 crisis, and how you kept a penalty clock from detonating. Walk me through it. I did it clean. Timestamps, recovery path, what the portal said and what the humans did. I left out client names and internal screenshots. I used truck numbers and first names I earned the hard way, the ones you can hear over a forklift. Nina didn't nod. She measured. You didn't escalate, she said at last. You rerouted. Escalation is for when your map is wrong, I said. Mine starts with people who actually move steel. She flipped to the second page, then set the pen down. Here's what we need. Regional Operations Director. Boulder Hub. Base 38% up from what you're paid. Performance tied to SLA. Start quickly. Clean runway. She paused. One condition. Relationships follow trust. We don't poach with paperwork. Agreed, I said. Clients aren't line items. They're calls you answer at 9 p.m. Good, she said, and then the plot twist. The market already knows about Granite's promotion. A handful of accounts have asked me where you're headed. They don't want drama, they want continuity. I didn't smile. I let the information settle like a pallet on a stable dock. It wasn't revenge, it was physics. Weight finds balance. Nina's eyes stayed on me. Tell me your non-negotiables. I didn't hedge. No retroactive restrictions, no train your replacement for free after I resign. I'll hand over baseline SOPs to keep lines safe because people's paychecks live on those lines. But my playbook, the judgment I built at 2 a.m. in yards and bays, that moves with me. I won't solicit anyone I don't have to. They will choose who answers when it's ugly. She held my stare for a beat and then smiled. That's the answer I wanted. She rotated the tablet so I could see the draft. Title, comp, bonus framework, start window. I'll send the formal offer first thing next week. Background is standard. If you accept, we move fast and quiet. Fast and quiet is the point, I said. For the next 20 minutes, we spoke in the language of operators. Lead time versus logo worship. Freight math that doesn't care about last names. The only KPI that matters when the line is at risk, whether steel moves. She asked what I want most in the first 30 days. A team that knows I don't trade blame for speed, I said, and 2 client calls that trust me enough to sleep. When we stood, Nina extended her hand. One more thing, she said. If Granite calls to rattle a sword, we're fine. Very, I said. There is no. Signed non-compete. Paper decides arguments before voices do. She laughed once. Then enjoy your weekend. Monday will be interesting. Outside, the air had that clean edge Denver gets right before the weather shifts. I put the folder back in my bag and felt the weight change from proof to plan. I texted my sister. Pizza night, phones face down. Then I pictured the building I was leaving as an engine I could turn with 2 fingers. If the offer lands on schedule, my signature will not make noise. It will make gravity. And when I lift my badge for the last time, the doors I choose will open on cue. Martin called me into his office. The blinds were half closed. His sleeves were rolled like he wanted to look busy. He did not sit. He pushed a paper across the desk and spoke like a judge. You're interviewing with competitors while you're on my payroll. That's corporate espionage. I kept my voice steady. Show me the non-compete I signed. He hit speaker and called HR. Janice came in with a laptop and a careful smile. She opened my file. Click, scroll, click. We have your code of conduct acknowledgement, your at-will agreement, and a general policy receipt, she said. And the non-compete, I asked. She paused long enough for the room to notice. There's no signed non-compete for Aaron. Non-solicitation addendum? I asked. More scrolling. None on file. That program went optional in our region. That was the whole twist. Not yelling. Paper. Paper settles arguments. Before voices try. I set 2 fingers on the back of the guest chair and laid out my terms. Here's what happens. I will hit my targets until my last day. I will leave baseline SOPs so crews are safe and lines don't stall. I will not sign anything retroactive. I will not train a replacement on a timeline you control. Martin changed tactics. His voice softened. Think about Sophie. Kids need steady. They need examples. I said. I'm giving her one. Janice closed the laptop like a gavel. The show lost its lighting. Martin swung one more time. If you try to take my clients— Your clients? I asked, not cruel, just clear. Trust belongs to the people who answer when it's ugly. Titles don't pick up the phone. I set a thin folder on his desk. This is what I leave, I said. 2 pages of clean SOPs, enough to keep trucks from idling and paychecks from bouncing. My judgment moves with me. He did not touch it. Maybe he understood there are maps you cannot buy because they were written at 2 a.m, standing in cold air beside a loading bay. Back at my desk, I printed a single generic page from my field guide, stripped of anything unique, and filed it behind the SOPs. Then I opened an email draft to myself and attached my policy receipts. The language is simple, no restrictive covenants. I was not hoarding secrets. I was documenting facts so gravity would fall the right way if anyone tried to bend the story later. On the floor, a supervisor stopped me by the dock door. You good? I'm on schedule, I said. He nodded like he heard the rest without me saying it. I walked to the elevator and texted Sophie. Home for dinner, phones face down. She sent back a heart and a photo of 2 plates waiting on the counter. The doors slid shut on a man who had confused my silence with permission. I let the quiet settle in my chest until it felt like steel, not smoke. Here's the plan, simple and honest. I will do the job I am paid to do. I will leave a safe map for the crews who keep the place alive. I will not donate the judgment that took me years to build. I will not cover for decisions that put last names above results. If anyone wants to test me with policy, they can bring paper with a signature. Without it, we are done talking. On my way out, I passed the conference room where the town hall applause had started this mess. The glass still shined. The story inside it did not. I pressed the elevator button and watched my own face in the reflection. Calm. Decided. Tomorrow I move 1 piece. The offer lands. My letter leaves. The building will learn what happens when you promote a last name and forget who knows the map. You wanted loyalty, Martin. What you bought was silence. It ends when I decide. After that, the only sound you'll hear from me is the sound that has always mattered more than speeches or titles. Freight moving without you. I hit send on my resignation and let the room go quiet. No manifesto, no speech, 1 paragraph with clear dates and a clean boundary. I ran my thumb along the ceramic mug my sister painted, set it in a small box with a photo from a night I didn't work late, and left the plants behind. Let them learn what grows without someone hovering. Replies came fast, a few real ones from people who carry weight. Then a calendar block from HR called Knowledge Transfer Marathon. I declined with 1 sentence. I will deliver baseline SOPs per role. Proprietary judgment and off-hours playbooks are not company property. Some people hate that line. The crews on the floor understood it instantly. You don't leave people without a map to the exits. You just don't hand over every shortcut carved at 2 a.m. Before lunch, I walked receiving and handed out a thin packet labeled SOP, Baseline. It held the only details that matter when alarms go off. Who to call, in what order, and what to say when the timer starts blinking. No magic, no back channels, no list called Where the Truth Lives. Those pages stayed with me because I earned them on my time, not theirs. An email landed that didn't bother with drama. Subject, Ironstone Transition, from Janet at Front Range Procurement. If Chase remains PIC on our account, we will transition a significant portion of volume to another distributor. No threats, just a decision. I forwarded it to Martin and Chase with a single line, flagging for leadership awareness. I didn't add commentary. Consequences explain themselves. Word moved through the building the way it always does in places that love theater more than results. Smiles tightened. Congratulations started to sound like questions. People I like stopped by with half sentences that ended in the one that matters. Are you okay? I'm on schedule, I said, and I was. I slid my field guide from the home desk into a plain folder and dropped it in my bag. Paper does not crash, and it does not ask permission. In the afternoon, I wrote a goodbye note that was honest without being sentimental. Team, it's been a privilege to work beside people who care if steel moves, keep each other safe, keep lines honest. That's the job. I added one line to the person who would need it most. Chase, document what you do, not what you wish happened. I signed my name and hit send. Somewhere up the chain, someone would mistake kindness for surrender. It wasn't. It was a clean cut. At the badge gate, I set the plastic on the counter and felt something simple. Not anger, not relief, equilibrium. Weight where it should be. I pushed through the glass doors into air cold enough to make everything look level. My phone buzzed once. Another client asking for my next email address. I typed what I'll tell anyone. I go where service is real and promises match outcomes. Then I put the phone away. No victory lap, no backward glance. I didn't slam a door. I turned off the lights. You will see the rest without me narrating it. A headline that sounds like a sudden storm. A board call with too many lawyers. A quiet migration of accounts toward the number that still answers after 9. When that happens, remember this day. One small box, one thin packet, one badge on a counter. Tomorrow I will sit in a different chair, open a different folder, and move steel in a place that respects the map. The story they told themselves can run out of pages without me standing there to watch. 6 months later, the story stopped sounding like escape and started sounding like a plan that worked. I sit in a glass corner at Titan Lift's Boulder Hub, boots under my desk, a whiteboard behind me mapped in arrows that mean steel will move when software freezes. The room is quiet the way a good engine is quiet. On Monday morning, Nina set a folder on my desk. Front range extended through 2027, she said. They cited continuity and night answers. I signed and felt the weight land in the right place. Later, Titan Manufacturing asked for an audit of their expansion lanes. $15 million over 3 years if our map matched the ground. I sent 2 supervisors, not a slide deck, and told them what I always tell people who keep the line alive. Tell the truth the portal refuses to see, then prove it with movement. News about Granite West arrived like weather, first as rumor, then as policy. Martin was out. A board memo said leadership changes and client churn. I did not feel heat, only symmetry. If you build a machine out of last names, it shakes itself apart the first time the belt slips. Chase resurfaced in my inbox with a short subject line and asked for 10 minutes. I gave him 15. We met at a coffee shop where nobody knows either of us. He looked younger and older at once, like someone who had heard a clock he could finally understand. I took a chair I had not earned, he said. I thought your quiet meant agreement. I told him what I wish someone had told me at 25. Quiet is not consent. Quiet is control when speaking would waste the oxygen you need to fix the thing. He nodded and did not defend himself. He thanked me for the week I shadowed him and for the steps he once called luck. At home, Sophie has a door that closes and a desk that is hers. We have dinners where my phone lives face down in a drawer. She tells me about a hard teacher and a friend whose house is too loud after practice. We set boundaries for both. On Sundays, we buy groceries with a list that does not include adrenaline. When I check for a crisis that is not mine anymore, I make tea and sit on the steps until the urge passes. One evening, we drove past the old building. The lights looked the same, but the air around it did not. "Do you miss it?" Sophie asked. "I miss the people who kept it running," I said. "I do not miss being the stories someone else wrote." She watched the street and nodded. We went home and turned the music up. Here is what I learned and now teach the crews who come up under me. Revenge does not have to roar. Revenge can be a clean line where your boundary sits. It can be the job done better in a place that does not worship theater. It can be the choice to build a map that makes other people safer. The day I stopped begging for permission and started labeling gravity, everything that needed to fall did. Not because I pushed, because I stepped out of the way and let weight find the floor where it belonged. If you are standing, In a glass room, being told to clap while someone explains your value back to you, write one sentence they cannot edit. People move freight. Software records the attempt. Translate that to whatever you move, and then name the 3 humans who can say yes when the portal lies. Carry that list like a compass, not a weapon. I forgave enough to stop carrying heat, but not enough to hand back my map. That is the balance I can live with. I do not return to teach anyone a lesson. I let the outcomes do that work. Granite West will either learn or keep building machines that shake apart. Neither future requires my presence. Tonight, I will set 2 plates, slide my phone into the drawer, and let the house sound like a life. Later, I will open a new document and title it with the only promotion I ever wanted. Sophie's Safety Plan, Senior Year, Logistics again. Love is logistics when you do it right. Trucks, calendars, and doors that open when they should. That is my revenge story, not a fire, a foundation.